Welcome to our Wednesday meditation service. Jack and I got into meditation when we had read Edgar Cayce's book, There is a River, and Many Mansions, and it was so life-changing that we searched for an organization in New York, and there was such a one. It was called the Association for Research and Enlightenment, and it was over a Chinese restaurant. And we walked up these, it was in a really kind of dank part of New York City. We walked up the stairs and were greeted by the most loving older people we had ever met. And they invited us into Saturday, a dream interpretation group, and then also a meditation group. And as we came up those steps, and we were in our 20s, so many young people started coming up those steps. There was something in the air. It was just, we were supposed to get into meditating, and the Maharishi was around at that time, and meditation was the key. And I'd been brought up in a Methodist church, and it was praying, but the people were not an example of great love to me. And but we went there, and we're in junior choir and senior choir, and I just didn't feel a great enlightenment in any of these older people, which I wasn't looking for enlightenment. I was looking to be liked, you know. That would have been nice. And so when we entered into this group of all age groups, and the love that was exuding from these people, meditation was the key to opening up to your highest self. You've been here many, many lifetimes, and it really, when you sit down and meditate, those lifetimes start to come through you, and the wisdom that you gained in all those lives. And in praying, you know, that's nice, and you're praying for people to be healed, and that's great. But if you don't have that consciousness that meditation brings you, are you praying for the right reasons? Or, you know, so that's why Jack and I do the meditation service, and we do it on Wednesday and on Sunday, because we feel meditation is what you want your children to do when they're being raised. You sit and meditate with them, and they sit there and they go through this length of time that you spend in the quiet, and they see that, and then they start to do it, and you put them in groups where they do meditations together, and it's life-changing. They find their destiny, and all I can say is that meditation is so important. So I'm going to do a call and response chant, and just to prepare us for Jack giving the talk, and then we go into the silence. Closer than breath, you are the air. Sweeter than life, you are here. I am a wanderer. You are my peace. I am a prisoner. You are release. By your grace, 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 light of my life, guide me now, help me to see you are here in times of strife. You are my guide, locked in my mind. You are release by your grace, 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 by your grace. O light divine, living through me, guiding my way to be free. Where there's distress, you are my light, bringing my mind to the light. By your grace, 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 closer than breath, you are my air, sweeter than life, you are here. I am a wanderer, you are my peace. I am a prisoner, you are release. By your grace, 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 by your grace.
This afternoon, about 4:30, Norm and I sat down to have a couple of sandwiches, and I turned on the television, and fortunately was able to watch the whole lead up to the launch of Artemis II, the space vehicle, the space program that's going to circle the moon this time. It's a historic event, and it was really exciting and inspiring to watch it as we went through the countdown to the place where the launch actually took place. And I was never that curious about NASA, but in a space program, but they seem to have revived it. It was quiet for a long, long time, and I don't know what the reasons were for that, but of late they seem to have really come back into the forefront of American experience. So it was really gratifying to see them launch Artemis 2 on its way to circle the moon. As it turned out, I viewed the Apollo 11 flight to the moon, the one in which they actually went to the moon. It was a crazy thing. A friend of mine at that time was really into the whole concept of space, etc., and he convinced me we should really go down to watch the space launching of Apollo 11, and I did. So, you know that I looked up Artemis. In Greek mythology, she is the Olympian goddess of the hunt, the forest, wild animals, and the moon. So she's a fitting symbol for NASA's space program at this time, since they are seeking to not only circle the moon, but that is the preliminary journey they want to take prior to landing on the moon and then actually setting up a space station on the moon. And that's all in the planning right now. You know, down through the ages, there was hardly a time when people didn't have some god or deity that they prayed to and worshipped. And of course, the Greeks were no exception. They had a number of gods and goddesses that people would seek to get some type of favor from or to get some help from. And not just the Greeks, but every culture down through the ages had some god that they believed in. And I think the reason for that is so much that takes place in our lives is unexplainable. Not, I mean, when I say so much, I'm not talking about 90% of it. I'm saying there's an element in life where we recognize we don't really have control. And so I think maybe that gives rise to the idea that there must be some God, some creator, some power that does things that we don't know very much about, but we're hopeful that we can influence that deity or that presence or that power to intercede and bring some type of happiness or wealth or something to our lives. And having been in the ministry all the years, I've heard a lot of things about gods and goddesses. And so in my ministerial experience, there are people that are willing to trust and have faith in all kinds of strange gods or goddesses, some of them not even considered to be benevolent. Some people are into trying to practice black magic or voodoo and things like that, which seems far away from what we should be seeking our lives to become. But of late, even the kingdom of heaven, as we consider it in our unity level of experience, is somewhat far afield, far from our ability to understand it. I mean, if you think about heaven, in its initial idea that the traditional Christian churches down through the ages have created this idea that somewhere beyond the stars perhaps, but somewhere, usually up, somewhere in the sky, there's a kingdom of God that is heaven, where everything is beautiful and all things go well. And so people have that ideal that they hold on to in their worship of God. And their hope rests on that possibility that when they finally drop the body, they will go to a really beautiful place, heaven, if they have done enough or been faithful enough to the God that they worship. Over the years, beside listening to and participating in discussions about every possible type of religion and God, power, I also was keenly interested in the more refined truth of life. And the refined truth of life has to have with it an experience. In other words, it cannot just, not for me anyway, it cannot just be an activity of faith that I stay with and stay with and stay with for whatever reasons. I think many people stay with the faith in God because of some fear they had that if they're not aware of and being faithful to God, they could not just not go to heaven, they could wind up in some place like hell. So it's interesting that the Pope, only a couple of years ago, said something that really sent a ripple of dissatisfaction through the bishops. He said that heaven is a state of mind. That's the Pope. I'm not even sure it was this recent Pope. I think it was the guy that just passed away, said that heaven was a state of mind. And I think he's closer to the facts of life than most of the popes who try to still carry on the elements of the dogma that keeps the church going. It's supposed to keep the church thriving. You realize that that church has amassed huge amounts of money because people seeking to want to have a favorite place in the heart of God, at the end, when they drop the body, they quite often will give great amounts of money to the church. And they have amassed, the Catholic Church has amassed a huge amount of money, as you can see with the buildings and the pomp and the circumstances and the gold and all the stuff that goes with the cathedrals and things that are built. I don't want to completely reject the idea of Catholicism. Catholicism has done some really good work in third world countries. They have sent bishops and they have sent doctors and missionaries, and they've been of help to some people that had very, very little. So I'm not completely attempting to put them down. I'm just saying, I'm trying to get at the point where I find myself today, and I so completely find myself today in this definition of heaven that we're discussing it on a regular basis in our discussion group following the 9 a.m. service. And what we are discussing is that heaven isn't someplace far off, and as Unity has understood it, at least a state of mind, but we've taken it a little further. Heaven seems to me now to be a state of well-being that any human being can aspire to. In other words, isn't that meaningful that we live our lives, and so much of what we're living is, misunderstood. There's so many conflicts that people meet in life. Let me see if I can get back to this point about well-being, go off into this early illustration from my own life. In my own life, even in my misbegotten youth as a juvenile delinquent, I was always interested, for some reason, in people with beautiful eyes or people with mean eyes. I grew up on the streets, and where I grew up, the gangs ran through the streets, and there was no regard for your age. I was like, when I was like 7 or 8, it was quite often terrifying to be out just outside my building, because if some mean-minded punk came along, he might try to just beat me up, slap me around, or steal my clothes, which is what they did sometimes. That the younger kids, they would grab them and strip them naked and send them running home naked. I was always terrified of that happening. And in growing up, I wanted to develop, and I did this purposely, tried to develop mean eyes, so that when I was around other kids, they wouldn't try to pick on me or to steal something from me or to hurt me physically. And as sick and stupid as that is, that's what I did. Quite often I'd be looking in the mirror and trying to develop a scowl and mean eyes. But as life went on, I was really interested in eyes. And over the years, as I grew up and grew out of the mean eye routine, even though I don't think I've quite shaken the whole concept of fear and mean eyes, but I think I've gotten to a place where I have let it go. But I was always interested in people with beautiful eyes. And I'm not talking from an aspect of sexual attractiveness. I was always interested in seeing people with eyes that are bright and clear, and they demonstrate a certain peace that they have. So it's not that it made them beautiful or attractive. It was that I was keenly interested in people that had eyes that did not relate the suffering and the pain that people go through in the world. You don't have to be around a long time to recognize how many elements of suffering exist in any normal life. In any normal life, there are things that take place that create great worry, concern, fear, uneasiness, unworthiness. They take place, and it registers in the eyes. So most people that have been around for 40 years anyway, their eyes declare that their life hasn't been simply a bowl of cherries and all is well and everything has gone wonderful. You hardly will meet anybody at that age whose eyes don't declare some of the, the fear and the pain that comes with living in the world. But there have been those people that I have noticed along the way, because I'm always looking for it, that have, at the age of 40 and 50, have really these eyes that say life is beautiful and peaceful and life is good. And I don't have and haven't had the opportunity to go up to a person out of nowhere and say, listen, I'm really interested in the fact that your eyes seem to demonstrate a certain amount of well-being that I don't find in very many people. What is your philosophy, or what is it you think, or what is it you believe? I don't do that. I've had to just go along with supposing that somehow or other they came to a more provable truth of God, the real God that I now honor. The real God that I honor now is the Creator who is creation itself. The Creator is not separate and apart from this creation in which we live. And so the Creator is in everything and everyone you see. But how you see everything and everyone is a matter of one's own state of mind. In other words, how at peace is your own mind? How capable is it of discerning the well-beingness of life, the perfect harmonies that exist in life, even though if you're in a stranger state of mind, or a fear-driven state of mind, or an unenlightened state of mind, you will, for the most part, be seeing things in terms of separation and concern, and you'll be defensive. Besides having eyes that reveal your concerns and worries about life, you'll be defensive, because in that state of mind, we're always trying to keep ourselves safe from the greater sufferings, even though we have suffering and we have concerns and we're worried not only about ourselves, about our children, about other conditions and circumstances, but we're always attempting, we're saving money, we buy insurance, we have medication, we do these things, we have all that standing by because we're trying to keep ourselves safe from what are related to sometimes as the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Okay, I can say to you honestly, because you showed up on a Wednesday night, you're interested in the truth that'll make you free, I can say honestly to you tonight, I am beyond that level of concern. I exist mostly in a state of well-being. If my eyes don't show it, it's because in my early years I was trying to create fearful eyes, and so they're still maybe registering that. But in my life, and I have come to recognize it is more discernible and it's more valid to consider heaven as a very present state of well-being that any human being can enter, but it requires one's transformation in his or her own thinking, because the condition of your thinking and your mind will keep you in a state that reflects the beliefs, fears, concerns, doubts that exist in your consciousness. That is true, and it's provably true if you want to prove it to yourself. So when you get into what we are doing with our discussion groups and our 9 a.m. service, and Santisha, of course, is speaking these same truths, you want to find out how to enter the kingdom of heaven that Jesus said was in our midst within us. Because what is being related there in that scripture and other scriptures is, how do I find a life of well-being with all that I have to do and the job I have to do and the conditions in which I was born and raised and what's going on around me in my life? How do I enter a state of well-being? And that is exactly what I am sharing all the time. That is exactly what the epitome of the unity practices and spiritual practice is all about. It's not about getting into some distant heaven. Because we've already, I mean, in the most surface unity understanding, people know we're not talking about a heaven beyond the stars where God exists and somehow or other when we get there all will be well. We're talking about a state of mind. And that state of mind can either be joyful, happy, peaceful, loving, or fear-driven, concerned, conflict-oriented, and depressed. And it has only to do with what we are presently allowing ourselves to believe. And I remember that way back when I was first on my spiritual journey in New York City, I heard Swami Rama say to a person, don't you like your life? And she said, no, of course not, I hate my life. He said, change your mind, which is the direct point. If your life is that concerning and fraught with concerns and difficulties, then it is necessary for you to take to task your own thinking, because over the years you have allowed yourself to believe certain things that are not true. Because when you live in a state of well-being, life complements you. Conditions and circumstances they validate your state of well-being. Just now, stop. Ask yourself the question in yourself. Do you believe that what I just said may be true? Do you believe that by developing a state of well-being, and just may require the purification of your own thinking and belief systems, but when you finally get there and do this, that circumstances in your life will corroborate the fact that you are in this heavenly state of well-being that can't be shaken? Ask yourself, do you believe the possibility of that? Because if you start to believe in the possibility of that, you will give the devotion required to your spiritual practices. All right, so let me share a few things from the Master of Masters. It was Shakespeare's play Macbeth, in which the statement came through that the eyes are the window to the soul. That may be true. I mean, honestly speaking, I was always fascinated with people's eyes. And it may be that they are the windows to your state of consciousness, which is what I just said. So we are opening ourselves to a truth shared by the masters in different ways. And this is from modern-day master Eckhart Tolle in his book, Stillness Speaks, on page 42. Do you treat this moment as if it were an obstacle to be overcome? Do you feel you have a future moment to get to that is more important? It's a really pointed question. Do you treat this moment as if it were an obstacle to be overcome? Do you feel you have a future moment to get to that is more important? Of course, Tolle, his whole spiritual focus is on living in the now moment. You could hardly live in the now moment if you're still carrying all the concerns about the future, your future, or the guilt that goes with some things that took place in the past. The whole spiritual journey is about transforming the mind from the considerations that come from past concerns or future necessity that we have to do whatever we can to make the future better, brighter, richer, so and so, to make us safer. I'll be safer if I have more money, or if I become more popular and I can manipulate enough people to actually bring forth my personal expectations. Life will be better for me. That is all error. It's all the limitations of the world. Here's what Eckhart Tolle is saying to us. Almost everyone lives like this, and he's speaking about treating the moment as though it was an obstacle for someone to get over, to get to some other moment that's more important. So you can't be present. You can't be at peace here with what is right here. Something has to be carried on. I can't be wasting my time with these people or this situation or that job, or why did this happen again? Please, let me get out of this. All of that is part of human madness. It is what creates unhappiness continually. So listen to what the Master is saying. Almost everyone lives like this most of the time, since the future never arrives except as the present. It is a dysfunctional way to live. It generates a constant undercurrent of unease, tension, and discontent. It does not honor life, which is now and never not now. I'll give you this whole thing and then we'll pause to meditate. We really, I'll see if I can piggyback on this a little bit at the 9 a.m. service on Sunday. Do you treat this moment as if it were an obstacle to be overcome? Do you feel you have a future moment to get to that is more important? Almost everyone lives like this most of the time, since the future never arrives except as the present. It is a dysfunctional way to live. It generates a constant undercurrent of unease, tension, and discontent. It does not honor life, which is now and never not now. Okay, just a brief explanation for people who are also misinterpreting meditation. You don't need to spend a great deal of time sitting still and being quiet. Quieting the thinking of the mind that is forever involved in getting on and getting the future to work better, et cetera, et cetera. We can relax the mind. And it doesn't take long periods of meditation, but some meditation every day, so that the core nature within us, the divine essence of our soul consciousness, can come into the forefront of our awareness. And when that happens, there is a mystical state of well-being that comes with a mystical state of peace of mind, where the concerns of the future and seemingly mistakes and guilt of the past no longer register. But meditation is not just sitting still, lying still, and quieting the mind. It is something that you can carry, a state of mind, a state of well-being that you carry with you. So if you're giving your attention fully to everything you find yourself doing, moment to moment to moment, without all the second thoughts and all the feelings of unworthiness or all the fears and concerns that what might happen, instead of that, you're simply giving your attention wholeheartedly to what it is you're doing in this moment. And when you're doing that, you will know what it means to be in the kingdom of heaven in the here and now, to be in a state of well-being. And that state of well-being only we can distort and fragment and destroy. Nobody can take it from you if you have it. But you can take it from yourself, and people do over and over again. So let's take a few minutes to just be silent, quiet. Take a couple of deep breaths. As you release your breath, release any particular concerns you may have harboring in you. If nothing else works for you at this present time, I don't expect you'll leap, unless you maybe have already leaped into the enlightened awareness. Some people going to Unity have. But if nothing else, you should know that you are beloved by this creation. So no matter what you may be doing to yourself, in all the process of living, the universe has given you that space, that room in your living experience to discover how to live effectively, harmoniously, beautifully, joyfully. But you have to figure it out. You have to make those choices. So take a couple of deep breaths. As you release your breath, release any cares or concerns you may have brought with you. And we can use this ideal as a mantra, a prayer, a mind-changing perspective. Just gently bring to mind this mantra. Everyone I look upon, everyone I see is part of God, just like me. Everyone I look upon, everyone I see is part of God, worthy of forgiveness, compassion, healing peace, just like me. Everyone I look upon, everyone I see is part of God, worthy of forgiveness, compassion, healing peace, and love, just like me. In this refined state of awareness, we offer the names of those that have been submitted to our prayer list. As Norma calls the name, just remain in the state of peace, accepting this moment for all minds are in communication, and your peace will bring healing.
Justine Woodard, Alex Musette, Juna, Anna, Danny, Keenan, Franklin, Chris, Mark, Noah, Salvatore, Sarah Mercado, Lucy, Pam, Steve, Diane Sutton, Daniel R., Ben I., Ben L., Pete and Thomas, Jess and Ricky, Dora and Ron, Ray, Jay and Shelby, Richard, Amy, Rich, Graham, Tracy, Will and family, Anna Dobbs, Dick F. and Sarah D., Kane, Kennedy, Lori, Kathy, Christopher and Sutton family, Janice, Charlie Brown Horse, Andrea, Otis, Cloud, Darren, Eva, Leo, Tommy, Carolyn, Charlotte, Julian, Madison and Victoria, Mary Ellen, Joyce and Nick, Eric Benson, Serena Benson, Mike N., Jessica L., Christina's Dear Doggy, Greg Freeman, Jimmy Mack, Chrishel, Jeannie, Robert, Jeanette, Nina, Brady, Izzy, Lauren, Andrew, Richard, Haley, Sue Mack, James and Lisa, Rachel and Ryan, Tom and Judy, Sabrina Evans, Gaynell, Dana, Betsy, Mike, Christina, Sandy S., David, Ann, Robin, Margot, Judy, Corin, Ruth, K.O., Suzanne W., Holly, Johnny, Kristen, and Karma, Twee, Marshall, Aria, Asteria, Calliope, Marley, and Maisie, Eduardo, Ricardo, Sonia, Maya Marcotte, Celia. Get this paper separated here. Steve Elliott, Lori, Kennedy, Mom, Shelley Kittleson, Ashley Corman, Kimberly Campbell, Jill Delanovich, Annalita Reed, Farmers of America, Ken Jones, USPS, Taylor Frankie Paul, Tammy Phillips, Josephs, Serletti, Lisa Niclario, Norman family, Eric, Lucky Star Equin, Thomas Pinnock, Angelina Reed, Des Scrubs, Furry Scurry Event, Little Craig, Walsenburg Residence, Jimmy Gracie, Louis Jordan, Bruce and Marcia, Marilyn and Michelle, Marie, United States Congress, peace in the Middle East and for all humanity. And you can call out a name at this time if you would like to do so.
Sandy Spahn, Dan Spahn, D. Matthew and family, S. Casey and family, S. Daniel and family.
You see this healing light surrounding the prayer box and all the people's names that have been submitted throughout the month. We see them healed physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Let us take a moment now to embrace the vision of the new heaven in earth, a heaven established by the rising in consciousness in the hearts and minds of people. And we see this rising consciousness taking place in everyone sharing this Boulder community with us. And we see this consciousness rising in the awareness of everyone sharing this state of Colorado with us. And this consciousness rising in the awareness of everyone sharing these United States of America with us. And this consciousness moving through every nation, every culture, every religion in the world, bringing about that restored harmony and well-being of the acknowledgement of the presence of the divine in every relationship and all the conditions and circumstances involving human relationships with all the creatures of the earth. As we pray, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God is love. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now, and the way we do that these days, we take the offering in our hands, we bless the offering, but then we just place it in the basket at the head of the center aisle here on our way out. And to all of you that are watching this on a live stream or screen, I invite you to some Sundays, some Wednesdays, just put in a personal appearance in the physical church center here and share in the magic and the miracle vibes of being here. So as we take our offerings in our hands, let's bless them with this offering statement. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is.
Let the words of my heart and the meditations of my life be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, O Lord, O Lord.
I have one announcement that I have to make. I misspoke when I talked about a 9 a.m. service on Sunday. This Sunday is the only Sunday we will not have a 9 a.m. service. We have one Easter service at 11 o'clock this Sunday, and it is, it's carried through the ideals that we're speaking about, but we do it with music, song, and dialogue. So that's the only service taking place Sunday at 11 o'clock, and you're all invited to participate. To everyone, we have tea and cookies. If you want to stay and chat for a few minutes, through these doors into the bookstore. And to everyone, have an awakened evening.